I apologize for this video appearing in two parts. I had to move rooms. My dogs were acting up. On the second level is the mesosystem, and that includes the linkages and processes taking place between two or more settings containing the developing person. An example they used in the text was like a peer group at school and a parent's beliefs or values contradicting each other. And that was in our text as well by Miller in 2016 on page 189. So in this level, due to the differences in beliefs that individuals hold, I said it was very common for settings such as school peers to hold different beliefs than a person's family might hold. There are Christian schools that teach Christian principles throughout their curriculum. However, it does not provide an individual with as much access to the children that need to hear the message. For an example, when I was in school, obviously everybody remembers being taught about the Big Bang Theory and how that is what created the Earth. And as a Christian, I don't believe this. But when we were asked the question on a quiz about how was the Earth created, I was required to respond the Big Bang Theory, and our teacher did actually go through this with us before the quiz was given because she knew that people in the class didn't agree with this theory and had different beliefs from it. And she was like, although your beliefs may be different, this is the curriculum that the school is teaching us, and this is the correct answer for this question for your quiz. And I still did not answer the Big Bang Theory because that's not what I believed. And I thought that by her requiring people to answer that question in that way, even though that wasn't the belief I held at the time, was wrong. So I just didn't answer it that way. But that's an example of, parental and personal values clashing with what your peers or school teachers might believe. And then in Miller on page 189, they did say, Bronfenbrenner said that the prototypic nature of the classroom reflects unstated beliefs of the society. And I kind of talked about this in the first layer, about how the school system is set up to, in a way, promote basic society beliefs and values, but doesn't necessarily promote or try to talk about individual belief systems. So like the golden rule in kindergarten or elementary school or whatever, about treating everybody the way you want to be treated. That golden rule came from biblical principles. It came from scripture. So those kinds of things. But they don't give the credit to where it came from. So for the third level, the exosystem, it encompasses the linkage and processes taking place between two or more settings, with at least one of them not originally containing the developing person. And that was said on page 189 as well in the Miller textbook for 2016. For this system, I said that the child should try their best to surround themselves with at least a few like-minded individuals so they can stay grounded in their beliefs. And, when as a youth, when I was young, I wouldn't have said I had many friends. I didn't consider people to be like that kind of close friendship. We were just school friends or like an acquaintance pretty much. And still today, I choose not to have that many friends. I wouldn't have that many people that I would consider a close friend or a friend, because I prefer to spend most of my time with like-minded people. And at the moment, I don't have that many of those people in my life at this moment. But families, I said, should make sure to set aside time to practice their beliefs, such as studying their Bibles together or praying together with their children. and the adolescents in their households because they might not get it in other circles. Um, the example the text gave for this system, though, is not faith-based, but they said that if a parent was having issues at work, that could lay over into their home life because it could cause stress, and they would just be more irritable at home, and this could lead to different issues regarding childcare, like abuse and things like that. The final layer is the macro system, which consists of the pattern of micro, meso, and exosystems characteristics of a given culture, subculture, or other broader social context. Particularly, they put importance on the belief systems, resources, hazards, lifestyles, and opportunity sources in the book. And they described it as a blueprint that helps design the social structures and activities occurring at more concrete levels for an individual. And this was on page 189 as well in Miller 2016. So for this level, I said that Christians are often viewed as intolerable and condemning to some individuals. And due to the misguided actions of some Christians and some Christian figureheads that are seen out in public and on, the people that they show on the news and things like that, that's where that mindset comes from, because it shows all the people on the news that are like, oh, you're going to hell, and everybody's holding up signs, condemning everybody for every sin that they have, or holding up picket fences and being just extremely rude and insensitive to people in certain situations. And recently, like regarding abortions, and I know it's a big thing now, but regarding like abortion clinics, there's usually a group of people who believe that abortion is wrong, as I do, but these people just might not be going about it in the right way to try to reach people, and they stand outside with signs and tables and things saying that, abortion is sin and you're going to hell, and, all these things that aren't going to get those individuals to want to stop and listen to anything that you have to say. If you're just condemning them on sight, saying that they're going to hell, you don't know what situation they're going through. You don't know what led them to the decision that they came to, or even if they made that decision yet. A lot of these places are information buildings that give you information on different options when you're pregnant and having female issues. And it's not even just pregnancy and abortion that these clinics usually do, it's just female issues. So just the ignorance of some people not to understand certain things, just to go about those kinds of things, is wrong. Sorry, I'm getting off topic. But many Christians today do not put in an importance on basic Christian principles, such as the importance of studying the Bible and praying and gathering with other Christians. And I said that parents need to bring back the importance of these principles to raise their children with a more grounded faith that won't sway so easily when challenged. And back to this level, it says that it's a blueprint that helps design the social structures and things like that in the child's life. So, like their cultural characteristics and social contacts and things like that. It's all stuff that kids learn when they're young through watching their family, watching their parents, watching the people that are closest to them at the time. And this is something that, if the child is being raised in a Christian household or in a church, that's kind of part of their responsibility to teach. For example, I'm one of the only children of my siblings who still is, I would say, actively practicing Christian principles. And that's because I decided when I was young, and I remember the moment that I decided. I was 12, 13 years old, and I decided that this was my faith. It was not just my parents' faith. It wasn't just my family's religion that I go to church because I was told. It's because I wanted to go at that point. That's when I decided that. And I'm still technically the only one that's kind of living out that lifestyle, I would say. A foundation on faith is important because otherwise it just falls out as the person gets older and starts listening to other views, and they can be swayed and they can believe what the mainstream beliefs are. um, like my youngest sister, my parents left our church that we grew up in when she was 11. She had just entered the youth room, and the youth room did a lot of teachings and things also down to the adolescent level, and they left and they did not attend a church for a while. And now she's completely fallen away from ever having the belief in God. She doesn't believe in God at the moment, so she claims. And she claims that that was never her faith and that she never chose to believe it, and that it was just a family thing that she did when she was young. And because my parents weren't, holding those practices in the household and actually, going through those principles with her, like studying the Bible and praying together, she fell out of everything. So that's why a foundation is important. So for this level, talking about blueprints, I would say a Christian foundation, the basics of Christian principles and the basics of Christian belief should be instilled in children when they're young, preferably. Like I said, if they grow up in a Christian household or with, people around them that are Christians that, help them with that when they're young. But if, a lot of people don't hear about it till they're older. And if they don't hear about it until they're older, or don't, start believing it or going into those practices when they're young, then they can still do it when they're older. That just be a little more of a backtrack, in my opinion, in setting up those structures and setting up those principles as a foundation, because they'd have to root up whatever foundation they originally had. So I guess as a summary, I did say that I thought that on the fence. I think that the first level, the microsystem level, and the fourth level, the macrosystem level, I would say are both honestly equally important in my opinion, because I do think a foundation is extremely important in your faith so that you don't stray from it and that you don't start believing in other things. And that was what the macro system was talking about in level 4. But as well as level 1 is when it talks about the microsystem, which is the pattern of activities, roles, interpersonal relationships, and like face-to-face setting. And that's when I was saying that they should be taught how to interact with people of different faiths and different views, so that they can best share their faith and not offend, and it'd be easier for them to teach people what they believe and actually have the chance of them actually just changing their minds and actually coming towards God and choosing God as their faith. That's it.